Hello everyone, welcome to this panel discussion. Today I'm the host. My name is JIFAN. This is a great honor to discuss a realistic and tense humanitarian topic with you, children and conflict, how to protect invisible victims in war. This panel discussion on Item 16 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, peace, justice, and strong institutions. In conflicts and wars, what we often see is the big power game on the table of politics, wimples and negative nations. But what about those children who don't have the right to speak? They are not participants in the war, but often the most costly victims. They were forced to flee their homes, suffered psychological trauma, failed school, and were caught up in the fire of war. They suffered the pain of not being able to speak out. What's more serious is that their stories are rarely reported by international news and are not protected by international politics. Therefore, today we will discuss in depth through discussion and dialogue from three spoken persons with clear positions. Who will represent the children? Does the definition of protection have cultural birth? In the tension of power and system, how can justice truly reach children? They are Syrian refugee teacher Fan Weizhen, International Criminal Court prosecutor HUMAORAN, and conservative mother WANGBEI. From the perspective of frontline workers, the speaker will talk about the psychological trauma experienced by children in the war, the lack of education, and the law neglected silent trauma. Welcome to from Syria refugee teacher Fan Weizhen to experience her views.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Hello, everyone. I'm a teacher in Syria refugee camp. When we talk about children in war, people often first think of hunger, displacement, and physical harm. But there is a kind of harm that is deeper and more lasting than physical injury. Yet, it is the most easily overlooked psychological trauma. I once taught a 6-year-old girl who sat in the corner of the classroom every day, not speaking, not eating, and not drawing. Her brother was killed in an air raid, and since then, there has been no light in her eyes. I have seen too many children like her. They instinctively cough and cover their ears when they hear the sound of planes, suddenly wake up screaming at night, and trouble the slightest sound like the creaking of door or the dragging of a chair. These reactions are not weakness, but rather they have etched fear into their body memory. This silent trauma continues to affect them even after the war ends. They find it hard to trust others, to concentrate on their studies, and some children show strong aggression where others completely shut themselves off and refuse to communicate. According to the UNICEF report, which published in 2021, the impact of war on children. Children who are exposed to conflict for a long time have a significantly increased risk of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). Such psychological harm does not heal automatically with the end of fighting. It flows like an undercurrent, affecting the adult lives of these children and an entire generation that has lost its sense of security. This is why mental health issues are called hidden threats to sustainable development. However, in reality, most of our aid resources are focused on so-called emergency needs, such as food, tents, vaccines, and medicine. These are of course important, but psychological rehabilitation is often seen as something to be dealt with when there is time. Some psychological counselors only stay in the refugee camps for a few weeks or months. Just as the children start to build trust, they have to face separation again. Some aid workers do not even understand the local language and culture, and instead cause the children to relieve the pain of being misunderstood. I would like to particularly emphasize that children's psychological rehabilitation must be long-term, systematic, and culturally sensitive. We cannot just rely on temporary projects to patch up, but must truly integrate it into the education system and communicate structure. Because for these children, school is not just a place for learning, but the first step in rebuilding their life order and regaining their imagination of the future. I once organized a class activity where children draw their future home. Many children draw a tree with a simple heart under it. They said they want to live where there were trees because that means peace and shelter. One little boy wrote, "If I could plant a tree, I hope it would grow in an entire village." This is a seed of hope. If we can protect this hope, children may be able to overcome their trauma and become themselves again. Protecting children in war is not just about providing them with the material conditions to survive, but also give them the opportunity to become human again. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fan Weizhen. Thank you for your speech. You let us see another kind of word, which is the crying in silence, the visible war in the children's hearts. As you said, it not only keeps them alive, but also gives them the opportunity to become completed people again. This hope is worth protecting together. Although the United Nations and the international legal institutions have established many protection, imagination's justice is often surprised when the conflicting party is an political power. The strong institution, emphasized by SDG 16, is often powerful but powerless in reality. Next, we interview the second speaker, the prosecutor from the International Criminal Court, HUMAORAN, express her opinion.
Thank you all. Thank you, the moderator. From a legal perspective, the protection of children in armed conflict has long been clearly defined within the framework of international law, whether it is the United Nations Convention on the Right of Child, the two additional protocols to the Geneva Conventions, or the Rome Statute of International Criminal Court. They are all clearly defined on the requirement of children under the age of 15 to participate in the combat as a war crime, falling within the scope of international criminal prosecution. It sounds like a complete protective net, but I want to emphasize the justice in the task, but is often absent in reality. In the multiple war investigation I have participated in, I have found that the issue of children soldiers is not an occasional case, but a systematic and organized part of violence in many conflict areas. Some armed groups even set up children training camps to open train minors to participate in some government allow local armed groups to use children as porters and informants. These rules may seem no combat, but they face extremely high risk of injury and death. Even more troubling is that when we have soldier evidence, the process of holding perpetrators accountable at the International Criminal Court often stalls. This is because the ICC jurisdiction does not automatically apply to all countries. Its state refused to join the Rome Statute or addictions to cooperate with investigations, even with the concrete evidence we are unable to prosecute. What we are facing is not the insufficiency of the law itself, but the fear of the system caused by geopolitics. International justice is often trapped in the gap between the oriented games and political games. As legal scholar Mark Campbell said that in his book, legal tasks cannot enforce themselves. Justice must traverse the fragility of institutions and political obstacles. I completely agree. So what I really want to say is this: we can't just rely on punishment. We also need to focus on healing and prevention. This means first we need stronger the international cooperation in justice, so war crimes can't simply hide behind the border and get away with it. Second, we should support post-war recovery programs that combine the therapy, education, and legal help. So justice isn't just a word, but something people can actually feel in their lives. And most importantly, we need to empower communities so that children who survive conflict aren't seen only as victims, but as people with new identities and a real future. I once interviewed a teenage soldier who had just left an armed group. He was forced to join the war at the age of 12 and participate in rehabilitation project at the age of 15. On learning writing and artistic expression, he said, I finally feel that I'm not a disposable person. This word deeply touched me. We often say that justice must be visible, but I believe that more importantly, justice must be felt. Protecting children in war should not stop on the courtroom or stay confined to official documents. What we must do is bring the justice into their lives so they can see the meaning of law and know that the society has not forgotten them. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your sharing. As you said, the power of the law lies not only in how many articles it has written, but also in whether it really touches those who need. Justice should be not just a cold judgment, but a bridge for children to go back to life. Next, to continue listen to the voice of the next speaker from a conservation mother. She proposed that Western definition of children's rights does not apply to all cultural backgrounds. In some societies, it's not unfortunate that children take on family responsibilities at an early age, but manifestation of a social role. Okay, let's listen to her opinion.
Thank you, moderator. I'm a mother and I am also a woman raising children in a place affected by war. I'm not here to say no to help or international support. I'm here to speak for voices that are often ignored, the invisible victims of war. That include not only children, but also families like us who have lost the power to speak for ourselves, and the cultural that are being overlooked. War brings deep pain, I know that, but I also know sometimes project mean to help or protect can unintentionally dismiss our value and way of life. In my community, children grew up by helping at home, taking care of younger siblings, doing chores. This is not abuse, it's how we learn and grow. When war comes, some young people choose to take on big responsibility, even fight, to protect their mother and sister. From a Western point of view, people may call them victims or say they've been used, but for us, it's about honor and duty. Of course, I don't want children involved in war, but I also don't want them to be misunderstood or labeled. You don't have to agree with our way, but please don't judge it by just one standard. Our children are not simply people who need to be rescued. They are part of a culture and a responsibility that shapes who they are. I've seen many at group come and talk about the children's right. They taught our kids things like you don't have to do what your parents say, or you don't need to help at home. Some even try to change our family traditions, but they don't see that in our world, family is often the only thing left holding us together. War taken so much from us. Only family give us strength. But when outside group break this trust, when they make children doubt their parents, it causes new problems. It hurt the family and hurt the healing. I'm not denying the pain of war, but I hope you can see that our children are not vulnerable. They know how to survive in culture and how to rely on the strength of family and the community to restore their lives. They need help, but they need respect even more. The United Nations talk about building inclusive system. So I ask, does inclusive also mean listening in our way of life? Can it mean respecting how we raise our kid, how we heal, not just give us one perfect ideal model? To all the decision makers and ad workers, I ask, before you plan your program, please listen to mother like me. Don't think we don't know how to love or education. Just because we are not what you call modern. We want peace too, but we don't want to be spoken for. And we don't want to be changed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Wangbei. You remind us that children protection is not only what to do, but also how to do and to whom. Between ed and intervention, do we really hear the voice of mother and family? This is a problem that we must reflect on. Thank you very much for the wonderful sharing of the three speakers. Next, we will enter a brief introduction. I have a question to ask Fan WEIZHEN. What do you think the biggest problem of international assistance in children's mental health?
Okay, in my opinion, the biggest gap lies in the lack of sustained and localized support. Many psychological interventions are merely emergency measures, such as a few post-war counseling sessions after which the project ends or the expert leave. This is far from touching the deep psychological recovery of children. The most effective approach is not one of lectures, but embedding psychological rehabilitation into daily education and community interactions. For instance, training teachers in basic psychological support or implementation of peer counseling. Much them can provide children with long-term companionship to help them overcome trauma. International organizations should not merely distribute supplies, but invest in long-term human resource development and truly understand the local cultural context, including children's ways of expressing emotions and their needs. That's all my answers for this question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Fan Weizhen's answer. I have a question to ask Prosecutor Hu. Do you think the exciting international imaginations are effective for the protection of children in war? What key institutional problems does it have?
Okay, thank you. I think they are effective, such as the Geneva Convention and the Convention on the Rights of the Child. However, the problem lies in the absence of law enforcement authority. If a country does not recognize the jurisdiction under International Criminal Court, we cannot hold them accountable. For instance, some countries continue to use their child soldiers, but because they are not members of the ICC, we simply cannot prosecute them. This is the contradiction between the legal reality and the political reality. That's all my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next, I have a question to ask WANGBEI. Do you think the Western Initiative on Children Protection is a kind of cultural colonization in some areas? Can you give an explain?
Yes. I believe many initiatives don't truly listen to the voice of local community. For example, in our country, boys join the army at 14 years old to protect their village. This isn't about losing their childhood. For them, it's part of who they are. But outsides often come in and ban these actions without offering any real alternatives. This created tensions and the cultural conflict. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to the three speakers for their wonderful and intense views. From frontline humanitarian workers to law enforcement to defenders of local culture, we have seen protecting children is not just about sympathy or intervention. It is a multi-party dialogue that must be listened to, coordinated, and built together. As we discussed today, children's silence in war is not because they are not in pain, but because society lacks the ability to truly listen. I hope that this discussion will not only stimulate thinking, but also promote the improvement to action and structure in reality. Thank you, everyone. This is our presentation. Thank you.